Sangha. Um, Today we will be continuing from 16th verse, 6th canto, 16th chapter, 39th verse in the Chitraketu Maharaj pastime. So we will get started. Thank you everyone again for joining. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So I missed last few weeks classes and trying to catch up with those as I get time. But really excited to get into discussion for this very interesting part of Chitraketu Maharaja's pastime, where Chitraketu, by the mercy of Narad Muni and uh, Agastya, Angira Muni and Narad Muni, uh, Chitraketu Maharaj got realization. Narad Muni mercifully gave mantra to worship Lord Sankarsana to Chitraketu Maharaj. And now Chitraketu Maharaj is in presence of Lord Sankarsana himself, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Chatush Kumaras also there around the Lord. And then the conversation is going on between Chitraketu Maharaj and Lord Sankarsana. First, Chitraketu Maharaj praises, worship, offers his prayers to Lord Sankarsana, and then later Lord Sankarsana explains the science of self-realization and Bhagavad Dharma to Chitraketu Maharaj. So these current verses are like the prayers of Chitraketu Maharaj. So in this session we are reading 16th verse onwards. So today we have readers Nupur Mataji, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, and yeah. So, any one of you would like to start?
I can start.
Okay, Prabhu.
So 6:16:39, right?
Yes, 6:16:39. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is I don't know what meter I should use here. I'll just read it. कामधीयस्त्वयि रचिता न परमरोहन्ति यथा करम्भबीजानि ज्ञानात्मन्य अगुणमये गुणगणतोस्य द्वन्द्वजालानि. Translation. O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with material desires for sense gratification through material opulence worship you, who are the source of all knowledge and are transcendental to material qualities, they are not subject to material rebirth, just as sterilized or fried seeds do not produce plants. Living entities are subject to the repetition of birth and death because they are conditioned by material nature. But since you are transcendental, one who is inclined to associate with you in transcendence escapes the conditions of material nature. So, purport. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4.9, wherein the Lord says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. If one simply engages in Krishna consciousness to understand Krishna, he surely becomes immune to the process of repeated birth and death. As clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. Such a person, simply by engaging in Krishna consciousness, as clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. Such a person, simply by engaging in Krishna consciousness or understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, becomes quite fit to return home back to Godhead. Even those who are obsessed with material desires may also come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead so steadily that they go back to Godhead. The fact is that if one comes to Krishna consciousness, although he may have many material desires, he becomes increasingly attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna through associating with the Supreme Lord by chanting his holy name. The Supreme Lord and his holy name are identical. Thus, he becomes uninterested in attachment to material enjoyment. The perfection of life is to be uninterested in material enjoyment and interested in Krishna. If one comes to Krishna consciousness somehow or other, even for material gain, the result is that he will be liberated. Kamad, Dveshad, Bhayat, Snehat. Whether for the satisfaction of material desires, because of the influence of envy, because of fear, because of affection, or because of any other reason, if one comes to Krishna, his life is successful. This reminds me of the verse Akama sarva kamova moksha kamudaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So whatever desires you may have, if you go to Krishna, then slowly those desires will be purified, and then Krishna will make sure that we develop love for him. So we just have to approach Krishna. It doesn't matter how we approach him. So this is very interesting because in the 15th, in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the 4 kinds of people who come to him. This Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino Arjuna, arto jigyasur artharti jnani cha bharatarshava. So 4 kinds of people: the distress, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, curious, and finally the one who is in the pursuit of knowledge, right, of the absolute truth. So 4 kinds of people come to Krishna. So this is fine, this is understood, well known. And in the next verse, Krishna says, Udara sarva evaite. No, in the next verse, he says, Tesham dhyani nitya yukta. So he says, out of these 4, the dhyani is my favorite. And then the next verse, he says something interesting. Udara sarva evaite dhyani tva atmaiva me matam. Astitahi yuktatma mam evan uttamam gatim. So he is calling all these 4 categories of people as udar. He's calling them magnanimous. So this is very interesting. Now, the 4 categories of people, they are coming to Krishna for some material gain, or for to alleviate their distress. But then they want something from Krishna. But here Krishna is saying that they are magnanimous. So how is that? So any answer, any thoughts about why Krishna is calling them magnanimous? Although they are the ones who want something from Krishna, but Krishna is calling them magnanimous here. One more verse comes in Mahabharata. I'll just read that out.
I think Sindhu Kanya wants to answer your question. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mataji.
Is it because even when you approach Krishna for anything material, in that you're also acknowledging him as the supreme, right? So because you're accepting that, maybe you become magnanimous.
But still, I mean, I can accept that a rich man exists, but I'm going to the rich man for some material benefit. But and then that rich man is calling me magnanimous. So,
Yeah.
which is another verse I want to share from this one from Mahabharata. And this verse was quoted by Bhakti Rasamrit Swami in one of his classes that I was hearing recently. So, rinam etat pravriddham me hridayan napasarpati yad govindeti chukrosha Krishna mam duravasinam. Right. So here, here the translation. This is in Mahabharata, and Krishna is saying this to, I don't know to whom, but Krishna is saying this verse, and this verse is quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatan Goswami. So the meaning is because Draupadi called me saying, "Oh Govinda," right? Yad Govindeti Chukrosha Krishna. So Krishna, when the A in the word Krishna in the end, that A is elongated, that actually refers to Draupadi. So Krishna is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is Draupadi. It's a feminine name. So because Draupadi called me saying, "Oh Govinda," that is why I am greatly indebted to her. Rinam etat pravriddham me. So that rina, the Sanskrit word to be indebted is called rina. So Hridaya Napasarpati, and this feeling of rina, of being indebted, doesn't go away from my heart. Krishna is saying. So because Draupadi called me saying, "Oh Govinda," that is why I became greatly indebted to her. This feeling does not go away from my heart. So like this, Krishna is becoming a rini. Krishna is becoming indebted to Draupadi, although he was the one who saved Draupadi from being insulted in that assembly of the Kurus by being disrobed, right? He supplied her unlimited sari to protect her dignity. So, so the understanding here is that, as Mataji mentioned, Krishna is like indebted even if we, in a way, acknowledge his presence. Like even if we try to make any connection with him, be it for even for material gain, Krishna is indebted to us, because that is how much hungry Krishna is for our love. And not just, although Krishna is in one sense fully satisfied, Atma Ramasya Gunayo, right? He's fully satisfied. He doesn't need anything else. He's satisfied with all his Nitya Siddha devotees in the spiritual world. But at the same time, he's also craving for the love from each and every one of us, each and every spirit soul. So that is like Achintya Bheda Bhed. In one sense, you can say that although he's fully satisfied, but he's also craving for our love. So that is why when we go to Krishna, even with a material motive, Krishna is indebted to us. And he's declaring here, he's declaring twice that I know, once in the Bhagavad Gita and once in the Mahabharata, where he is saying that he's indebted to Draupadi for calling him out, calling his name out. So yeah, this is something. Anybody has any thoughts on this? Krishna is a very it's like he's a very I would say crazy lover, right? He wants that little, even though little attention, he wants that from us. And then rest is taken care of by him and his devotees. Then he will send his devotee who will come and reduce our craziness of going after material attachments. So like that. Sorry I took too long.
No, no, Prabhu, it was beautiful, and like you really nicely summarized this translation purport and then backed it up with very important verses. And then how about the personal relationship, and how anyone who approaches Krishna is destined to be pure. So very nicely elaborated with all the verses. Thank you so much. I would like to read this translation once again. That, "O Supreme Lord, if persons obsessed with the material desires for sense gratification through material opulence worship you, who are the source of all knowledge, and are transcendental to material qualities, they are not subject to material rebirth, just as a sterilized or fried seed do not produce plant. It's like Srila Prabhupada gives many time example in his lectures that even if stool comes under the sunlight, it gets purified eventually. It's like that Krishna is absolutely pure, and when anyone comes in contact with Krishna in any way, like it can be material desire, it can be like jigyasa, artha, as Jagannath Prabhu quoted verse, artha arthartha jigyasu and gyani, any category you may fall in, but if you come in contact with Krishna, Krishna has Surya Sam, Krishna is like sun, and Maya hai andhakar. As soon as you come in contact with Krishna in any form, the purification, the soul gets purified and it revives its natural, its original nature of being servant to Krishna. There was a Ashadi Ekadashi recently, the last Ekadashi, and there is one famous pastime of Lord Vithala with Gayasur, that Gayasur came into Lohadanda Kshetra, which is called Pandharpur also. So he came in Pandharpur as a like big yogi, and he was he was giving boons to all the people in the town of Lohadanda and fulfilling desires of people, and telling them to call him Mauli. Mauli is another name of, like, people lovingly call Lord Vithala as Mauli in Marathi. So he was asking people to call him Mauli instead of Lord Vithala. So in the end, when like Lord Vithala subdues this demon, but Lord Vithala is actually pleased with him because he chanted Mauli. Even he wanted to deceive himself as Vithala. So this is that's how, and ultimately Lord Vithala grants him moksha and he goes back to Godhead. And pastime concludes like that. So I think it beautifully connects here that in any form you worship Krishna, come in contact with devotees, um, and Vaishnavas and Krishna in any form, but it starts your eternal journey back to Godhead. And it's just matter of starting, and then ultimately you will go back to Godhead. In this Sunday class this week, last weekend, Vaishashika Prabhu was Vaishashika Prabhu discussed exactly on same things, surprisingly, about the personal relationship with Lord, about the Gopa Kumara pastime, that how like we may be a one person in the crowd of many, but Krishna has very personal relationship. And that dialogue which comes in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that I have been waiting for you for so long. And this is not dialogue by the Gopakumara to Krishna, but Krishna is saying that to Gopakumara, and that makes him really emotional, and then he starts crying. So it's Lord Shri Krishna personally cares about each and every devotee. That's what our acharyas tell us. That's what the realized souls tell us. So whatever desire, if we go with whatever desire we go to Krishna, ultimately it will be purified and lead to pure devotional service. Yeah, we certainly need our own efforts and follow rules and regulation, but worshipping Krishna in any way is all blissful. Maharaj was also mentioning that some religions, for example, some Abrahamic religions, they say that if you don't follow certain path, if you don't believe in God in certain way, then you will be eternally cast into hell. So Maharaj was commenting on this, that it's never like that. It's never like that. You just, and who no one is sinful enough, or no one is we cannot do anything which will take away us from Krishna forever. It's just a matter of getting started and surrendering unto Krishna. If that was the case, that if you don't follow certain path, certain religion, and you land up eternally in hell, then it makes Supreme Personality of Godhead like a monstrous dictator, something like that. So It's not the case. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. As soon as anyone takes shelter of Krishna, even the most fallen soul becomes a great soul. And so this is how Jagannath Prabhu also very nicely explained this with many verses. So living entities are subjected to the repetition of birth and death because they are conditioned by material nature. But since you are transcendental, one who is inclined to associate with you in transcendental escapes the conditions of material nature. Naturally, he will escape the condition of material nature. And then this line in purport, uh, the perfection of life is to be uninterested in material enjoyment and interested in Krishna. If one comes to Krishna consciousness somehow or other, even for material gain, the result is that he will be liberated. The perfection of life is to be uninterested in material enjoyment and interested in Krishna, because that is the closest, that is the most natural form of our original nature. Our original nature is to serve Krishna and not interested in material enjoyment. But as soon as there is enjoyment, there is desire for material enjoyment, there is some deviation from our original nature, and then we cannot be completely happy and blissful. So yeah, I really like this line. So yeah, I will stop here. I think I was also long. So please, anyone else have any comments or anything to add? Please feel free. So, and also, if anyone would like to pitch in as reader, feel free to do so. I think after Nupur Mataji, if anyone would like to.
I can pitch in, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, Nupur Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you.
Text 40. Chitam ajita tadbhavtam yadaha bhagavatam dharmam anvadyam nishkinchana yemuna ya atma ramayam upaste apavargaya. Translation. O unconquerable one, when you spoke about Bhagavad Dharma, which is the uncontaminated religious system for achieving the shelter of your lotus feet, that was your victory. Persons who have no material desires, like the Kumaras, who are self-satisfied sages, worship you to be liberated from material contamination. In other words, they accept the progress of Bhagavad Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. As stated by Srila Rup Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anayabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukuliyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desires for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. The Narad Pancharatra also says, Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparattvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchyate. One should be free from all material designations and cleansed of all material contamination. He should be restored to his pure identity, in which he engages his senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses. That is called devotional service. This is also called Bhagavad Dharma. Without material aspirations, one should simply serve Krishna as advised in Bhagavad Gita, Narad Pancharatra, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Dharma is the process of religion enunciated by pure devotees, direct representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead like Narad, Shukadev Goswami, and their humble servants in their disciplic succession. By understanding Bhagavad Dharma, one immediately becomes free from material contamination. Living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are loitering in the material world suffering. When they are instructed by the Lord Himself about Bhagavad Dharma and they adopt it, that is victory for the Lord. For He then claims these fallen souls. A devotee following the principles of Bhagavad Dharma feel very obligated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can understand the difference between life without Bhagavad Dharma and life with Bhagavad Dharma, and thus he ever remains obliged to the Lord. Taking to Krishna consciousness and bringing fallen souls to Krishna consciousness is victory for Lord Krishna. Savai pumsham parodharmo yato bhaktir ado shaje ahetuki apratihata yat atma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the pure transcendental process of religion. Hare Krishna. So again, we are talking about the material desires as we were just discussing from the previous verse. About unmotivated and uninterrupted, this we discussed in our Bhagavad Gita discussions, and Nitya Mataji explained it very nicely. So this particular phrase, unmotivated and uninterrupted, it has been used many times in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, even in Nectar of Devotion. So Srila Prabhupada, he talks about it. He says in pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even that is not actually a motive. That is the pure condition for living entity. And furthermore, he says, like on this platform, there is nothing but the service of the Lord. When a person has no ulterior motives, there is certainly oneness and agreement of principles. Since everyone has a different body and mind, different types of religions are needed. But when one is situated on spiritual platform, there are no bodily and mental differences. Consequently, on the absolute platform, there is oneness in religion. So this is mentioned in CC Madhya 17.184 purport by Srila Prabhupada. Again, he is quoting this same Bhagavatam verse 1.2.6. And the ahetuki apratihata, this is what is unmotivated and uninterrupted. So yes, Puji, that is all I have to add. I would really like to hear what others have to add. Thank you, Puji.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you beautifully narrated the translation and the purport we read, especially that ahetuki apratihata. Yeah, like if it is ahetuki, I heard in a lecture, if it is ahetuki, then only it can be apratihata. If it is without motive, then only it will be uninterrupted. If there is motive, then there will be some interruption. There can be some interruption in your devotional life. So thank you for bringing it up. So anyone else like to comment anything on this verse? Add anything? Okay. So I have some points to mention about this verse. So this verse is talking about the Atmaram, which some part Jagannath Gopal Prabhu also quoted about the Atmaram verse and told like how Lord is Atmaram, satisfied in himself, and so also his devotees. Here this verse mentions about Kumaras. These Chatush Kumaras are very special because they are self-satisfied. They don't need anything from this material world to be happy. Even before they become devotees, they were at such a higher stage of yoga, self-realization, that they were fully happy in themselves. But such Atma Ramas, even same case about the Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev Goswami was on such a highest stage of spiritual realization that when he came for to tell Bhagavad Katha to Parikshit Maharaj. There were many great sages, and except Vyasadeva and Narad Muni, everyone standed to offer their respects to Shukdev Goswami. Even though he was just 16-year-old boy, apparently, externally, but his realization is far superior. But that Shukdev Goswami also, who was detached from childhood on the completely transcendental platform of self-realization, he was also attracted when he heard the descriptions of Lord Krishna. So these kind of devotees are also called Atma Rama. So those who are self-satisfied but still Lord's beauty and Lord's pastime attract them. So and so when we hear and learn about such Lord, we will also can get liberated from material contamination. So I want to quickly go to Atmarama verse and we can read per translation and purport for that verse. That will give like more that will give us better understanding of this. This verse. It is 1.7.10. Atmarama verse is also very special verse. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this verse in 56 ways to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and this verse is extensively quoted by Srila Prabhupada also throughout his purports. So we will go through translation and purport of this verse. Suta uvacha atmaramascha munayo nirgantha apyurukramhe kurvanta hetu kim bhakti Mithatmam Bhuta Guno Harihi. Sri Suta Goswami said all different varieties of Atma Ramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, like Chatush Kumaras and Shukdev Goswami. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract anyone, including liberated souls. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this Atmarama Shloka very vividly before his chief devotee Srila Sanatan Goswami. He points out 11 factors in the shloka, namely Atmaram, Munaya, Nirgantha, Api, Cha, Urukrama, Kurvanti, Ahetuki, Bhaktim, Itham Bhuta Gunaha, and Hari. According to Vishwa Prakash Sanskrit Dictionary, there are 7 synonyms for the word Atma, which are as follows: Brahman, the absolute truth, body, mind, endeavor, endurance, intelligence, and personal habits. So these are the 7 meanings for the word Atma. The word Munaya refers to those who are thoughtful, those who are grave and silent, ascetics, the persistent, mendicants, sages, and saints. These are all Munis: ascetics, persistents, mendicants, sages, and saints. The word Nirgantha conveys these ideas: one who is liberated from nescience, one who has no connection with spiritual injunction, that is, who is freed from the obligation of rules and regulation mentioned in the revealed scriptures like ethics, Vedas, philosophy, psychology, and metaphysics. In other words, the fools, illiterate, urchins, etc., who have no connection with the regulative principles. A capitalist, and also one who is penniless. These are also multiple meanings of Nirgantha. According to the Shabda Kosha dictionary, the affix ni is used in the sense of certainty, counting, building, and forbiddance. And the word Grantha is used in the sense of wealth, thesis, vocabulary, etc. The word Urukrama means the one whose activities are glorious. Krama means step. This word Urukrama specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. The Lord Vishnu is powerful and his activities are so glorious that he has created the spiritual world by his internal potency and the material world by his external potency. By his all-pervading features, he is everywhere present as the supreme truth, and in his personal feature, he is always present in his transcendental abode of Golok Vrindavan, where he displays his transcendental pastimes in all variegatedness, His activities cannot be compared to anyone else. And therefore, the word Urukrama is just applicable to him only. There is no one else like Lord Narayana. And that's why the word Urukrama. According to Sanskrit verbal arrangement, Kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. Therefore, if it means that the Atmaramas render devotional service unto the Lord, not for personal interest, but for the pleasure of the Lord, Urukrama. Hetu means casual. There are many causes for one's sense satisfaction, and they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation, which are generally desired by progressive persons. As far as mental enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under the illusory energy. There is no end to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them. As far as the mystic powers are concerned, they are 8 in all, such as to become the minutest in form, to become weightless, anima, laghima, to have anything one desires, to lord it over the material nature, to control other living beings, to throw earthly globes in outer space, etc. These mystic powers are mentioned in Bhagavatam. The forms of liberation are 5 in number. Therefore, unalloyed devotion means service to the Lord without desire for above mentioned personal benefits. And the powerful personality of Godhead Shri Krishna can be fully satisfied by such unalloyed devotees, free from all sorts of desire for personal benefit. Unalloyed devotional service of the Lord progresses in different stages. Practice of devotional service in the material field is of 81 different qualities, and above such activities is the transcendental practice of devotional service, which is one and is called sadhana bhakti. When unalloyed practice of sadhana bhakti is matured into transcendental love for Lord, the transcendental loving service of the Lord begins gradually, developing into 9 progressive stages of loving service under the headings of attachment, love, affection, feeling, affinity, adherence, following ecstasy, and intense feeling of separation. The attachment of an inactive devotee develops up to the stage of transcendental love of God. Attachment of an active servitor develops up to the stage of adherence. This is Shanta, Dasya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And that for a friendly devotee develops up to the stage of following, and the same is also the case for the parental devotees. Devotees in conjugal love develop ecstasy up to the stage of intense feeling of separation. These are some of the features of unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. According to Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya, the import of the word Itham Bhuta is complete bliss. Transcendental bliss in the realization of personal Brahman becomes comparable to the scanty water contained in the pit made by cow's hoof. It is nothing compared with the ocean of bliss of vision of the personality of Godhead. Yeah, again, this is the bliss of impersonal Brahman is very small compared to the bliss of bhakti. That's what Prabhupada is telling us here. The personal form of the Lord Shri Krishna is so attractive that it comprehends all attraction, all bliss, and all tastes. These attractions are so strong that no one wants to exchange them for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. There is no need of logical arguments in support of this statement, but out of one's own nature, one becomes attracted by the qualities of Shri Krishna. We must know for certain that the qualities of the Lord have nothing to do with mundane qualities. All of them are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. There are innumerable qualities of the Lord, and one is attracted by one quality while another is attracted by another. Great sages such as the 4 bachelor devotees, Sanak, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, were attracted by the fragrance of the flowers and tulsi leaves anointed with the pulp of sandalwood offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Shukdev Goswami was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Shukdev Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, yet he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves that quality of his pastime has nothing to do with this material affinity. Similarly, the young cowherd damsels were attracted by the bodily features of the Lord, and Rukmini was attracted by hearing about the glories of the Lord. Lord Krishna attracts even the minds of the goddess of fortune. He attracts in special cases the mind of all young girls. He attracts the mind of elderly ladies by parental affection. He attracts the minds of the males in the humors of servitude and friendship. The word Hari conveys various meanings, but the chief import of the word is that he, the Lord, vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by awarding pure transcendental love. Hari, who takes away the Lord vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by awarding pure transcendental love. By remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can be free from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. Gradually, the Lord vanquishes all obstacles on the path of devotional service of a pure devotee, and the result of 9 devotional activities such as hearing and chanting becomes manifested. By his personal feature and transcendental attributes, the Lord attracts all psychological activities of pure devotee. Such is the attractive power of the Lord. The attraction is so powerful that a pure devotee never hankers for any one of the 4 principles of religion. These are the attractive features of the transcendental attribute of the Lord. And adding to this, the words api and cha, one can increase the imports unlimitedly. According to Sanskrit grammar, there are 7 synonyms for the word api. So by interpreting each and every word of this shloka, one can see unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities of Lord Shri Krishna and that attract the minds of pure devotee. This verse talks about the unlimited qualities of Lord which attract the minds of pure devotees. Really beautiful. Anyone want to comment anything on this verse or the verse we just read? 16.40. Okay, we'll move to next verse then. Krishnan Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, I'll read next. So 41, is it?
Yes.
So I won't read the verse, I'll read the translation. Is that okay,
Okay.
Prabhu?
Yeah. That's fine.
Translation. Being full of contradictions, all forms of religion, but Bhagavata Dharma work under conceptions of fruitive results and distinctions of you and I, and yours and mine. The followers of Srimad Bhagavatam have no such consciousness. They are all Krishna conscious, thinking that they are Krishna's and Krishna is theirs. There are other low-class religious systems which are contemplated for the killing of enemies or the gain of mystic power. But such religious systems, being full of passion and envy, are impure and temporary. Because they are full of envy, they are full of irreligion. Purport. Bhagavata Dharma has no contradictions. Conceptions of your religion and my religion are completely absent from Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma means following the orders given by the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. God is one, and God is for everyone. Therefore, everyone must surrender to God. That is the pure conception of religion. Whatever God orders constitutes religion. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. In Bhagavata Dharma, there is no question of what you believe and what I believe. Everyone must believe in the Supreme Lord and carry out his orders. Anukulyena Krishnasu Shilanam. Whatever Krishna says, whatever God says, should be directly carried out. That is Dharma, religion. If one is actually Krishna conscious, he cannot have enemies. Since his only engagement is to induce others to surrender to Krishna or God, how can he have enemies? If one advocates the Hindu religion, the Muslim religion, the Christian religion, this religion or that religion, there will be conflicts. History shows that the followers of religious systems without a clear conception of God have fought with each other, with one another. There are many instances of this in human history, but systems of religion that do not concentrate upon service to the Supreme are temporary and cannot last for long because they are full of envy. There are many activities directed against such religious systems, and therefore one must give up the idea of my belief and your belief. Everyone should believe in God and surrender unto Him. That is Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma is not a concocted sectarian belief, for it entails research to find out how everything is connected to Krishna. Isavasyam idam sarvam. According to the Vedic injunctions, sarvam khalva idam brahma. Brahman, the Supreme, is present in everything. Bhagavata Dharma captures this presence of the Supreme. Bhagavata Dharma does not consider everything in the world to be false. Because everything emanates from the Supreme, nothing can be false. Everything has some use in the service of the Supreme. For example, we are now dictating into a microphone and recording on a dictating machine. And thus, we are finding how the machine can be connected to the Supreme Brahman. Since we are using this machine in the service of the Lord, it is Brahman. That is the meaning of Sarvam Khalva Idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman because everything can be used for the service of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is mithya, false. Everything is factual. Bhagavata Dharma is Sarvotkrishta, the best of all religious systems, because those who follow Bhagavata Dharma are not envious of anyone. Pure Bhagavatas, pure devotees invite everyone without envy to join the Krishna consciousness movement. A devotee is therefore exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam, he is a friend of all living entities. Therefore, this is the best of all religious systems. Whereas so-called religions are meant for a particular type of person who believes in a particular way, such discrimination has no place in the Krishna consciousness. It has no place in Krishna consciousness or Bhagavata Dharma. If we scrutinize the religious systems meant for worship of demigods or anyone else, once again, let me read that again. If we scrutinize the religious systems meant for worship of demigods or anyone else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will find that they are full of envy and therefore impure. Wow. This is like the Srila Prabhupada is written like the manifesto for Krishna consciousness here. And he has made it, very, very, very clear as to what Bhagavata Dharma is and what it is not. I think the words that that call out to me are that religious systems or processes that are full of passion and envy are not Bhagavata Dharma. They are impure and they are temporary. And the other thing that really speaks to me is that Sarvam Khalva Idam Brahma is that everything and anything can be used in the service of the Supreme Lord. Everything is real, everything is factual, and he uses the example of the dictating machine and the microphone. That also is, that also is spiritual. That also has become spiritual because it's used in the service of the Lord. So everything that we have or we can use in the service of the Lord, we should, is what I'm getting out of this. Thank you, Prabhu, and maybe you can also add, please.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Krishna Prabhu. Even I also at the end of the purport, I felt wow, and you said that. And thank you, you really nicely narrated about the Bhagavad Dharma and really the religions which are based on passion and envy, and in Sarva Khalvidam Brahma, and how even the dictaphone, that the example that Srila Prabhupada gave, that how that is also a form of Brahma because it's being utilized in Lord's service. Thank you so much. Anyone else like to comment anything on this? Anyone? Please feel free to so. Personally, I think there is so much that we can talk and discuss about this verse. That
I agree, Prabhu. This verse is very instructive.
yeah, very key.
Right, very instructive. Something that um, we have to just watch out for, and look at ourselves constantly as to Srila Prabhupada has given such nice guidelines for us in this.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Prabhu.
No, Prabhu. Yeah, I felt same actually. Yeah, +1 to that, because as we hear in many lectures, we read in Bhagavatam that envy is basis of this material world, and it also enters into the so-called religious systems, and then any religion uh, which ultimately doesn't lead to developing love for Godhead ends up being some material activity. So Prabhupada is asking us to give up the conception of your religion and my religion. Bhagavad Dharma is above all of this, because it doesn't belong to this material sphere. It's directly coming from Golok Vrindavan Dham of Lord Shri Krishna, and it's completely pure. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam. It's Amal. There is no lacking in it. There is no dark spot in it. It's completely pure, because it teaches only love for God and surrendering to Krishna, and that's the only thing which can curb this envy, which on the basis of which this material world is built. Anything related to this material world, or any activity, even religious, in the sphere of this material world, will lead to envy, and only Bhagavad Dharma is free from it. And that's how Srila Prabhupada is describing it. That history shows that the followers of religious systems without a clear conception of God fought with one another. This is very well known thing, and that's why many modern intellectuals despise the idea of religion, because it have led to so many fatalities, bigotry and fanaticism in this world. But because those religions were somewhere influenced by envy and passion, but system of religion that do not concentrate upon service to the supreme are temporary and cannot last for long, because they are full of envy. There is a verse in Bhagavatam which says that when we are trying to cross this river of material world, the ocean of material world, uh, there are many crocodiles with open mouth trying to devour you, and those crocodiles are these pseudo religions, Kaitava Dharma, which may look like religious principles and something elevated, but ultimately they are Kaitav Dharma. They will trap you in this material world only. But only Bhagavad Dharma can transcend all of this, because it's beyond three modes of material nature, and it directly belongs to the Golokela Premadhan Harinam Sankirtan. It's directly coming from Golok Vrindavan. Everyone should believe in God and surrender unto Him. That is Bhagavad Dharma. This is Bhagavad Dharma, and Prabhupada is reminding us that this is the conclusion. Your religion, my religion; your belief, my belief; your opinion, my opinion. This thing doesn't matter. Whatever is the service to the Lord, and whatever can render service to the Lord and His devotees, that is Bhagavad Dharma. And it's not a concocted sectarian belief catering to a group of people or a certain section of society. It entails research to find how everything is connected with Krishna. The Bhagavad Dharma insists and clarifies that how everything is connected to Krishna. And then with this nice example that Krishna and Prabhu also shared, that Sarva Khalvidam Brahma, and the example of dictaphone, that how even a machine like dictaphone is transcendental when it is used in service of Krishna. And yeah, it's Sarvot Krishna. Bhagavad Dharma is called Sarvot Krishna. Sarvotkrishtha is like the best of all religion, because those who follow Bhagavad Dharma are not envious of anyone. It for this Krishna consciousness will attack the most root cause of our material existence, that is envy, and that's why it's greatest and it's most pure. Yeah. So I think if anyone else have anything to add, please.
Actually, I have a follow-up question, Prabhu, either for you or Gaurakumar Prabhu, which is one thing I've heard is about in Krishna consciousness, where we apply the tilak, and it, what I've heard is that the body is considered a temple and also as an instrument for the Lord as well. So when we apply the tilak and we follow transcendental, Krishna conscious practices, then the body also becomes, spiritual. Is my understanding right? Or I've heard this in some class somewhere. That was my question. Is it any understanding on that, just like the dictaphone?
Yes, Prabhu, like it is recommended in Shastras that we put tilak on the Lord, which is symbol of Lord's lotus feet, and tulsi patra, and there are many examples also given that how just by putting tilak you get so much spiritual benefit, and the person who sees you also remembers Krishna and sees that this is Vaishnava, and it gives the other person also so much benefit, and it creates a devotional environment. So these are as Prabhupada mentions, that these are the etiquettes for Vaishnava which supports our spiritual life. I think, that's what I can say. But Prabhu, Jagannath Prabhu, Gaurakumar Prabhu, or anyone else, please, can you add more to this?
Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, do you want to say something? No, I agree completely with what Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu has said. Yes, body is like a temple. Mama Mana Mandire, Raho Nishi, Krishna Murari, Shri Krishna Murari. In that song, I don't know who wrote that song, but in that song, even the mind is considered as the temple. So similarly, the body is also considered as a temple, and by decorating it with tilak, we are actually having that vision when we do it. The only thing should be that by merely decorating the body, it does not become a temple, because we have to have that internal consciousness as well. There is a song by an unknown author, which was popularized by Vyasakhi Prabhu. Amar Nitai Milena, that song. Anybody knows that song? Amar Nitai Milena Bhula Mon. So that song is Amar Nitai Milena Bhula Mon, Gaur Milena, Sarakai Makhile Tilak, Gaur Milena. Bhitar Bahir Thik Na Hale, Gaur Prem Ki Kothai Mile. So what that song says is, I smeared my entire body with tilak, but I did not get Nitai and Gaura. So, and then the next line says, Bhitar bahir theek na hale. When my inside and outside are not, right, they are not in sync, how can I get Gaur Prem? So, the tilak, decorating our body with tilak is definitely powerful. And it's all the more powerful when our consciousness is also like that. So when our consciousness is also of Mama Mana Mandire. So that's all. Gaurakumar Prabhu, please add something.
No, perfect, Prabhu. I just thank you for highlighting that point about internal and external. Yeah, that is the only thing I wanted to add, but you covered it very nicely. And this bhajan was perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect, Prabhu. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Also, like there is that verse, Shariram Adhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. This our body is one of the very important tools through which we can render devotional service. So making it suitable to render devotional service by putting tilak, by keeping it clean, is always, it will lead to faster progress in spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada, in all of his letters, he asked for the health of devotees and wishes that this meets you in good health, because healthy body and will help us practice our spiritual life better always. Yeah. But again, yeah, as Jagannath Prabhu and Gaur Kumar Prabhu shared about the internal, external, that is also very important. Yeah. Anything else, Prabhus? We'll move to next verse. Yeah. Jagannath Prabhu, like to 6.16.42.
It's me, right?
Yeah.
I'll just go directly there. Okay. Kshemo nija parayo. Anybody knows the meter for these kind of verses? The first line is small, second line is big, third line is again small, fourth line is big. Kah kshemo nija parayo kiyan vartha swaparadruhadramena dharmena swadrohat tava kopaha parasampi daya cha tatha dharmaha. Translation: how can a religious system that produces envy of oneself and of others be beneficial for oneself and for them? What is auspicious about following such a system? What is actually to be gained? By causing pain to one's own self due to self-envy, and by causing pain to others, one arouses your anger and practices irreligion. Purport: any religious system but the process of Bhagavad Dharma, service as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a system of envy of one's own self and of others. For example, there are many systems of religion in which animal sacrifices are recommended. Such animal sacrifices are inauspicious both for the performer and for the animal. Although one is sometimes permitted to sacrifice an animal before the goddess Kali and eat it instead of purchasing meat from a slaughterhouse, permission to eat meat after a sacrifice in the presence of the goddess Kali is not the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is simply a concession for the miserable person who will not give up eating meat. It is meant to resist his desire for unrestricted meat eating. Such a religious system is condemned. Therefore, Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. That is the last word in religion. One may argue that the sacrifice of the animals is recommended in the Vedas. This recommendation, however, is a restriction. Without the Vedic restrictions on the purchase of meat, people will purchase meat from the market, which will be overflooded with meat shops, and slaughterhouses will increase. To restrict this, sometimes the Vedas say that one may eat meat after sacrificing an insignificant animal like a goat before the goddess Kali. In any case, a system of religion in which animal sacrifices are recommended is inauspicious for those who perform the sacrifices and for the animals. Envious persons who perform ostentatious animal sacrifices are condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 16:17 as follows: Atmasambhavitah stabdha dhanamana madanvitah yajante mam yajnaiste dambhena vidhipurvakam. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes perform sacrifices in name only without following any rules or regulations. Sometimes animal sacrifices are performed very gorgeously with grand arrangements for worshipping the goddess Kali. But such festivals, although performed in the name of Yajna, are not actually Yajna. For Yajna means to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it is recommended that in this age specifically, Yajni Sankirtana Prayair Yajantihi Sumedhasaha. Those who have good intelligence satisfy the Yajna Purusha, Vishnu, by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Envious persons, however, are condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as follows: Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha samshritaha. Mam atma pardeheshu pradvishanto bhayasukah tan aham dvishatah kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipamya ajasram ashubhan asurishva eva yonishu. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demon becomes envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of others, and blasphemes against the real religion. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. These persons are condemned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as indicated by the words Tava Kopaha. A person who commits murder is envious of himself and also the person he has killed. For the result of committing murder is that he will be arrested and hanged. If one transgresses the law of a man-made government, he may escape being killed by the state, but one cannot escape the laws of God. A killer of any animal must be killed in his next life by the same animal. This is the law of nature. One must follow the instruction of the Supreme Lord. Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. If one follows any other system of religion, he is subject to punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in many different ways. Therefore, if one follows a concocted system of religion, he is envious not only of others, but also of himself. Consequently, his system of religion is useless. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-8 says, Dharmasvanushrita pumsam vishvaksena katha suyah notpadayed yadi ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. Duties, dharma, executed by men, regardless of occupation, are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Lord. Following a system of religion that does not awaken one's Krishna consciousness or God consciousness is merely a waste of time and labor. Very strong purport. Prabhupada is condemning on the basis of Shastras the killing of innocent animals for satisfying one's own tongue. And here an interesting point is made that although the meat eating is there in the Vedas, it is not a recommendation. It is just a restriction. It is something like if there is a chain smoker and a well-wisher wants to, bring him out of that smoking habit. Now, the person is a well-wisher. So in one hand, he cannot say that I won't put any restriction on you because that will make you suffer, right? At the same, so if he does that, then the smoking will go on unrestrictedly and the person will eventually die of that. At the same time, the person cannot say that from tomorrow, the well-wisher cannot say that from tomorrow, stop smoking altogether. That is also not possible. If the well-wisher says that, then the smoker will say that get lost, you are not my well-wisher, right? He'll reject the instruction. So similarly, the Vedas, for those who cannot live without eating meat, Vedas give them this kind of allowance that after you do all this, take kill an animal, offer it to Goddess Kali, do this, do that, and it should be done on a particular day in a month. It can't be done anytime and any day. So many restrictions are there, and there is a mantra that has to be chanted in the ears of that goat. Then it's called Mamsaha. Basically, Prabhupada mentions there. Mamsaha means I am ready to go through the pain that you are going through. Mamsaha, I also, like that. And then a particular area of the animal has to be cut so that the death is painless. And all these restrictions are there. So restrictions being put does not mean that it is allowed. It only means that because one cannot give up that habit. There are restrictions put so that gradually that person comes to the level of giving it up. So similarly, Vedas, in some intermediate level of discourse, the Vedas might say that meat eating is allowed. But on the highest level of discourse, which the Bhagavatam propounds, dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. Nothing of the leave alone meat eating, even the so-called other religious systems that do not invoke love for God are just thrown out. So all kaitava dharma, like Prabhupada quotes this verse, dharma svanushrita pumsam vishvaksena kathasuya na utpadayad yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. So any religious system, although it might seem very nice externally, if that does not invoke love for God, then that is just a waste of time from the perspective of the highest, parodharmo, which is bhakti. That's all.
Amazing, Prabhu. Amazing how you talked about Kaitav Dharma, how killing of animals is not justified in any ways, and it's just some concession given because Prabhupada uses that some miserable uh, uh, some animals are very good, but there is some word that Prabhupada is using that because that person is not uh, able to control this concession of meat eating under certain circumstances is given. And Srila Prabhupada very strongly mentions this point in this purport that that rather than letting this number of slaughterhouses increase, Vedas have permitted worship of goddess Kali, then sacrificing animal and then eating it on particular days, just to restrict the act, that sinful act. But it's still sinful, it's still inauspicious, and the person who is involved in the ritual will be condemned for the act, even though it's done in the name of religion. So this is clarified here. Even like we see in the story of Jad Bharat Maharaj that those forest people, Adivasis, they wanted to sacrifice Jad Bharat, whom they thought as some dumb person who is equivalent to animal. They wanted to sacrifice a person who is human body but who lives and who looks like who is like animal, and they thought that Jad Bharat Maharaj is like that, and they came to sacrifice Jad Bharat Maharaj there. They fed him well, and Jad Bharat Maharaj was completely calm. He was remembering Lord, and as soon as they raised their sword to hurt Jad Bharat Maharaj, the statue of the Vigraha of Kali Mata broke open, and Kali Mata came out along with her associates, and they killed all of them. The description is pretty gory. They severed head of all those people there who were trying to kill Jad Bharat Maharaj, and then they were kicking their cut heads, and then they were drinking blood out of their neck, and then they were dancing also on their bodies. So even the goddess Kali is also like servant of the Lord, and she also doesn't appreciate these kind of activities. But under certain circumstances, this is just a restriction imparted on the who were helpless and they have to eat meat, for those kind of people. And one more thing I was thinking about was that we are in United States, where like every grocery shop, every other store is piled up with heaps of meat of cow, meat of goat, and whatever you can think of. And in this land, Srila Prabhupada is bold enough to clearly state the facts as per Shastra and warn people of the pitfalls of falling into meat eating and how it is, and in clear words, without compromising anywhere, he condemned this act of meat eating. That's why like the acharyas in our line are there, lion gurus. They just roar like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada, and we can also try to follow them as per time, place, and circumstances. Anyone else have anything to comment on this verse or purport?
Prabhuji, I'll quickly chime in. One of the things that fascinated me about Krishna consciousness is the four regulative principles, and how Srila Prabhupada explained the four regulative principles, and he He didn't even mince any words. He just said that this is what it is.
Mm.
And so that was one of the things. So this is a very, very powerful verse, as you all talked about. Now I wanted to bring up a point. This is more like a personal angst that I felt. So I used to go to Chennai 30 years ago, Prabhu, and pretty much in Chennai in those days, when I would walk around, only 1 in 10 or 15 restaurants you could find meat. It was very difficult to find meat in restaurants. In those days, I'm talking about early 90s or late 80s. Now I went to Chennai, in June. Now every other restaurant, or probably even every restaurant, has meat. And meat eating seems to be like exponentially growing. So it was so worrying for me that all this so-called material advancement is leading to this type of deviation by the masses. They think of meat eating as a sign of material progress, and it's more of a personal worry and an angst. I just thought I'll share maybe somebody. This.
Yes. So it's so true, Prabhu. Thank you for mentioning that. It's said that so this rules regulation that we discussed here, that sacrificing animal in front of Kali and then eating it, it was only allowed for Shudras. It wasn't meant for Vaishyas, Kshatriyas were allowed to eat under certain circumstances, but it wasn't meant for the the Brahmanas or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas. Again, Kshatriyas were allowed under some circumstances to consume meat, but it was meant for morely for Shudras. That if so, and in Kali Yuga, it's like the Kalau Shudra Sambhava. So the traits of a Shudra lifestyle are becoming popular, and one of it is like the eating meat, and it's also said like that the effect of Mleccha and Yavana religion and the lifestyle will increase throughout the world as Kali Yuga progresses. So, but we have 10,000 years of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada's movement of Krishna consciousness. But after that, I think these things will increase more and more. So thank you for sharing that, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, anyone else like to comment anything? I think we are on time now. There is one last verse that let me see how big it is. Okay. Quickly.
It'll be nice if you can complete that verse, Prabhu. That will
Okay.
complete the section.
Okay, yeah, sure, Prabhu, sure. So I think Nupur Mataji, you like to read? Thank you.
Thank you, Ruji. Text 43. Navyabhicharati tvakesha yaya hi abhito bhagavato dharma sthirachara sattva kadambeshva aprithagdiyo yam upaste tva arya. Translation. My dear Lord, one's occupational duties is instructed in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita according to your point of view, which never deviates from the highest goal of life. Those who follow their occupational duties under your supervision, being equal to all living entities, moving and non-moving, and not considering high and low, are called Aryans. Such Aryans worship you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: Bhagavad Dharma and Krishna Katha are identical. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everyone to become a guru and preach the instruction of Krishna everywhere from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, Vedanta Sutra, and similar Vedic literatures. Aryans who are advanced in civilization follow Bhagavad Dharma. Prahlad Maharaj, although merely a child of 5 years, recommended Kaumara Acharet Pragyo Dharman Bhagavatan Iha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tada Tad Api Adruvam Arthadam. Bhagavatam 7.6.1. Prahlad Maharaj preached Bhagavad Dharma among his classmates as soon as an opportunity was afforded by the absence of his teachers from the classroom. He said that from the very beginning of life, from the age of 5, children should be instructed about Bhagavad Dharma because the human form of life, which is very rarely obtained, is meant for understanding this subject. Bhagavad Dharma means living according to the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, we find that the Supreme Lord has arranged human society in 4 social divisions, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Again, the Puranas and other Vedic literature set forth 4 ashrams, which are the divisions of spiritual life. Therefore, Bhagavad Dharma means the Varnashram Dharma of the 4 social and 4 spiritual divisions. The members of human society who strictly follow the principles of Bhagavad Dharma and live according to the instruction of Supreme Personality of Godhead are called Aryans or Arya. A civilization of Aryans who strictly follow the instruction of the Lord and never deviate from those instructions is perfect. Such civilized men do not discriminate between trees, animals, human beings, and other living entities. Pandita Sama Darshana. Because they are completely educated in Krishna consciousness, they see all living beings equally. Aryans do not kill even a small plant unnecessarily, not to speak of cutting off trees for sense gratification. At the present moment, throughout the world, killing is prominent. Men are killing trees, they are killing animals, and they are killing other human beings also, all for sense gratification. This is not an Aryan civilization. As stated here, Stira Chara Sattva Kadambeshwa Aprithak Diya. The word Aprithak Diya indicates that Aryans do not distinguish between lower and higher grades of life. All life should be protected. All living beings have a right to live, even the trees and plants. This is the basic principle of an Aryan civilization. Apart from the lower living entities, those who have come to the platform of human civilization should be divided into a society of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudras. The Brahmana should follow the instruction of Supreme Personality of Godhead as stated in Bhagavad Gita and other literatures. The criterion must be Guna and Karma. In other words, one should acquire the qualities of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra and act accordingly. This is the civilization accepted by the Aryans. Why do they accept it? They accept it because they are very much eager to satisfy Krishna. This is perfect civilization. Aryans do not deviate from the instructions of Krishna, nor do they have doubts about Krishna, but non-Aryans and other demoniac people fail to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is because they have been trained in sense gratification at the cost of all other living entities. Nunam pramataha kurute vikarma. Their only business is to indulge in all kind of forbidden activities for sense gratification. Yad indriya pritaya aprinoti. They deviate in this way because they want to gratify their senses. They have no other occupation or ambition. Their method of civilization is condemned in the previous verse. Kashemo nija prayo kiyan vartha swapara druha dharmena. What is the meaning of a civilization that kills oneself and others? This verse therefore advises that everyone become a member of the Aryan civilization and accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should conduct his social, political, and religious affairs according to his instructions. We are spreading the Krishna consciousness movement to try to establish a society the way that Krishna wants it. This is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. We are therefore presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is and kicking out all kinds of mental concoction. Fools and rascals interpret Bhagavad Gita in their own way. When Krishna says, Mama mana bhava, mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. They comment that it is not Krishna to whom we must surrender. Thus, they derive imaginary meanings of from Bhagavad Gita. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, strictly follows Bhagavad Dharma, the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, for the complete welfare of human society. One who misinterprets Bhagavad Gita, twisting out some meaning for his sense gratification, is a non-Aryan. Therefore, commentaries on Bhagavad Gita by such persons should be immediately rejected. One should try to follow Bhagavad Gita as it is. In Bhagavad Gita 12.6 to 12.7, Lord Krishna says, Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sannyasa matpara ananyenaiva yogena mam dhayanta upasate tesham aham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami na chirat partha may avishita chetasam. For one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Hare Krishna. This is again yet another wonderful purport by Srila Prabhupada. And it fits perfectly, even like after years, after several decades, he wrote this. And I really like the series, like how he has explained the previous verses. Like he told us what is Bhagavad Dharma and how we can follow this, like getting rid of envy and getting out of mode of passion. And now he's talking about like how a civilized community can be set up, and what all do we need to become civilized in context of Krishna consciousness, and how one should treat like everyone, all living entities, as children of God. Like be it be it the animals, be it trees, everything is like are children of gods. They are his products, his creations. And Srila Prabhupada, he has mentioned, like he repeatedly during his conversation mentioned about it, like the killing of animals, as we were discussing in previous verse, and as he mentions in this verse about killing of animals, and then killing of trees, men killing several living entities, men killing each other. Even if we think of that time, during that time, it was not as much common as it is today. Like in India, every day, several people are, like several men and women are killing each other on a daily basis. So Srila Prabhupada had a like so wonderful vision, and he has mentioned everything that we need today to become a part of this civilized community, to try to reach to try to fit in the definition of Aryans. This might take again lifetimes. So so many points are there in this verse and in this purport, and Srila Prabhupada has explained it amazingly. So yes, Ruji, I can like go on and on. Everything Srila Prabhupada has mentioned is very much needed.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, beautiful Mataji, and thank you for very smartly and like thoroughly covering all the sequence of the verses, like Bhagavad Dharma, then the Jivatya, and like all the summary that you mentioned. That was like really good conclusion to the today's topic that we discussed. I especially like the how the definition of Aryan Srila Prabhupada is giving. Aryan is not like just externally developed society. It's equally or more important about the internal development, that so much so that they are careful and conscious about even killing plants, and what can we say about animals or even human beings. So those are the Aryans, and not the developed civilization who use all their development in killing animals and trees and utilizing it for their sense enjoyment. So Srila Prabhupada very clearly, very strongly clarifies that, and talks about Varnashram Dharma, and and how Aryan civilization is not uh, based on sense gratification, but on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, I think we will stop here. Thank you so much, everyone, for your comments. Nice recitation of verses and reading of purpose and sharing your thoughts. We'll stop here. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Srila Prabhupada ki
Yeah.
jai. Jai.
Jai.
Want to thank Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu for leading such a nice discussion. Thank you so much, Vamshidhar Gopal Prabhu. It's always nice to have you as a leader. So humbly and so much wisdom you carry, and you bring out all these purports so nicely. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.